Hey all, today I'm going to be demonstrating you some techniques that you can use to distress clothing for this assignment. You'll notice I have my white t-shirt here that I grabbed. I wrapped it around a cooking tray. The reason being is I don't want what I'm doing on one side to transfer to the other side necessarily. I'm going to just show you some techniques to distress and discolor clothing. Everything I'm going to be using today is stuff that you should be able to find around the house. However, I understand that not everyone has everything. So if I'm doing something here and you don't know or you don't have it, be creative, think outside the box. Also, today I'm going to be showing you some things that are kind of dangerous. Everything is stuff that you should be able to have around the house, so I'm not that worried about it, but as always, just let a parent or guardian know that what you're doing and how you're doing it, just to make sure that everyone stays safe. Alright. We're going to talk distressing first. Now, distressing is when you put holes or rips into fabric. I'm going to show you a few different ways to go about doing that. As you can see, I've already done just a few little holes. The most effective way is with a pair of scissors. Now, here's the thing about the scissors, is people's instincts are to come through and cut a hole like that. You'll notice it's kind of triangular shaped. It looks like you cut a hole in the fabric. It's not particularly convincing as like a natural tear or something like that. So what I recommend is open up your scissors like this. This is one of those things that's a little bit dangerous. And you're going to come in here and you're going to drag the scissor blade across the fabric. And you'll notice I'm starting to get a whole bunch of little holes that look like a rip. That's particularly effective around areas of natural wear, like your armpits or the collar of your shirt. Think about where you would naturally get stains on your clothes and put the stains in those places. A few things when it comes to doing this to make sure that you're doing it safely. Never, ever, ever cut towards your body. Ever. That's just good life advice. You'll notice I'm cutting 90 degrees to my body. I'm going in, and I can go ahead and just rub it to make those holes bigger and kind of pull them like this to get a bigger hole. It's a very natural looking hole that way. Another technique you can use if you don't want necessarily big holes is get a hairbrush. The stiffer the hairbrush, the better. If you happen to have a hairbrush that has like a wire bristles, that would be even best. But if you don't, a normal hairbrush will do. Go ahead, stretch your fabric taut, and you drag the hairbrush across the fabric. That'll weaken the fibers within it and make it so it's a little bit more fragile. It'll also make it much softer too. So if you've ever got a shirt that's kind of like hard and kind of uncomfortable to wear, hit it with a hairbrush a little bit. Also, sandpaper works really, really great for this stuff. I don't have any sandpaper today, but if you've ever seen jeans with holes in the knees and stuff like that you bought that way, chances are somebody took some sandpaper to it to create that texture. One last thing, notice here I just have a normal screw. A screw is really good for like impact holes. You can kind of take it, wrap it around there, and shove it through the fabric, pull it. It really looks like it's been caught on something. I don't know if you can see that there's like a little indent in there in the fabric to really kind of stretch it out, distort it, make it a bunch of different looks. As always, this isn't necessarily every technique you can use, but it's some techniques that'll help you along your way. Now we're going to talk discoloring. Once again, there's a lot of different ways to do this. I'm just going to show you a few of my favorite techniques. My favorite technique actually involves black tea. I bought just the cheapest bag at Walmart. You got 100 bags of it. I understand that not everyone has black tea around, but if you do, it's really good. Coffee grounds will work great for this too. Black tea, when you brew it, is kind of a yellowish brown color. I like it to create the illusion of sweat. So I'm just going ahead, I'm just taking my brush, I'm just stabbing the tea bags with it. You'll notice I didn't use very much water. It's not all the way full. In fact, it's barely full at all. The reason is I'm just trying to create very, very strong tea. Like, this is not good to drink. It will not taste very good, but for what we're doing, it's great. So I'm just mixing it around with my hairbrush. I'm just stirring it up. Then you can come in here and paint on your discoloration. You'll notice it kind of has that yellowish color that like underarms get when you've been sweating for a long time in your clothes. And it'll dry beautifully. Anyway, that's just one way to go about doing it. Another technique I really like is if you need to create the illusion that your clothes are wet, but you don't want to be standing in a wet shirt, just standard vegetable oil will do the trick. This is a brand new thing of vegetable oil that I bought specifically for this. You can kind of just take your brush, put it in the vegetable oil, and paint it on. And as it dries, you will see that it'll look like the shirt is wet even after it's all the way dried. So I've been painting things on. Don't be afraid to speckle things as well to create different effects. You can have different looks. Maybe you were splashed by something. Another thing that you can do is if you need to create the illusion of dirt, like you've been out doing dirty things, you can use coffee grounds, but personally I like chocolate chips. Oops, there goes that. You can take it in here, you can kind of ground it in, and you can create a lot of like depth of color from chocolate chips to create like the illusion of stains that way. That way you can do a lot with simple chocolate chips on a t-shirt. This works differently too. You get different effects when you get shirts that are what's it called, wet. Different things happen. So don't be afraid to experiment, play around with it. You've got a front and a back of the t-shirt, so I would try the back first, figure out what you like, and then do the front. But you can do kind of whatever you want. All right. Let's go just a few more things, and then we'll talk about paint. So let's look at one of my other favorite things to do. This is for like gore or blood if you got injured. This is just raspberry jam that I've got. You can come in here, get it in there. If it's been there a while, you can kind of grind it in. And once that dries, it'll dry a very sickly dried blood color. And especially if you come in with just like a little bit of chocolate in there, it'll really look like you've been attacked. If you don't have raspberry jam, standard spaghetti sauce would do it as well. I think it's a little too orange for my taste, but it would work in a pinch. Another thing you can do is come in with some paint. Now these are just standard acrylic paints. Another thing that works really well for this is watercolors. So if you've ever seen like those like long bar watercolor ones, you can go ahead and use some of that to create an effect. I like to just dilute it a lot into some water. And we're just gonna go ahead and use our oil brush. And so I just put some gray paint into my water. You can use as much or as little water as you want. And then if you come in here, you can create a lot of depth of layers, especially if you don't get a lot of paint on it. You can play around with different things to create different effects. I also like to, if you want to do some blood with some red paint. I just happen to have red and gray paint around, so that's why I'm using these colors, but if you have other colors, they might be more appropriate for what you're doing. Ooh, that's a lovely little soup. Get as much paint out of my brush as possible. You can splash around, practice getting some realistic looking things. Maybe this might be some fresher blood. The sky's the limit, really, in what you can do. Okay. The last thing I'm going to talk to you about is probably the most dangerous, but it is a very effective technique if you're ever doing anything with chemicals, like you're doing a chemical spill or something. And that is bleach. So here I've got just a different piece of fabric. It's darker. Bleach shows up better on darker colors. You can go ahead and just lay it out. This is, as I said, the most dangerous. Make sure that you let your parents know. However, it isn't more dangerous than cleaning a bathroom with bleach, so I feel okay about it. The first thing you want to do is get your fabric wet. So go ahead, wet the area that you want to use fairly heavily. This is just water in a spray bottle. Then you can come in with your bleach. Notice this is just scrubbing bubbles, foaming with bleach. Go ahead, you just layer it in where you want it. I recommend you can kind of rub it in, play around. Make sure that after you use bleach you wash your hands, so which I will do right now. Okay. Once you've let your bleach sit for a minute, it'll start to lighten the color of the fabric. I don't know if you can see that, but it's starting to lighten up. To stop the reaction of the bleach, you're going to hit it with some vinegar, diluted in some water. So here we go. I've got just some more water over here. I'm going to go ahead and put some vinegar into it. And then hit your fabric into the bleachy fabric into the vinegar. That'll stop the chemical reaction wherever you want it, and it'll lock it in, okay? Once you've done that, go ahead and rinse it all out, and then you should have some lighter fabric. As always, let me know if you've got questions. We'll be talking each day. If you've got something that you want to do and you're not sure how to do it, we can talk about it, see what we can figure out.